Hey everyone, welcome to Moms That Conquer. I am your host, Julie Rodriguez, and we are here today with my girl Shana, right?
Hi guys, how are you?
Okay, I like to thank our followers, right? Because
hmm
I feel like that's so important to start off any segment with thanking our followers. Thank you for the support. Thank you for everyone that has been with us since day one. I love you guys. And most importantly, right? Again, thank you to our new followers.
Yes.
Welcome to the party. This is an open platform. Hopefully, we get to have you guys here soon. We talk about different random topics of discussion, whether it has to do with parenting or just life in general. So, if you haven't watched our previous segments, make sure you go back and watch them, okay?
Yes.
Cool. Our topic of discussion today may be a bit sensitive for some, right? Maybe informative for some. So I just wanted to
hmm
give you guys a heads up to make sure that if you have some sense of sensitivity when it comes down to certain topics, now is your fair warning,
It can
right?
be a little controversial, I
Right,
would say.
right.
Yeah.
Seek professional help from any
Oh,
not professional help. Seek help from your pediatrician when it comes down to this topic. We are not doctors. We're just giving you
right,
advice from experience.
right.
So our topic of discussion is for Shauna to discuss her challenges and benefits with raising a child that has been diagnosed with ADHD,
That is correct.
right?
hmm
So for those of you that do not know, ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It's a chronic condition including attention difficulties,
Yes.
right? Would you would say that?
Focusing difficulties, um, overactivity. It's a lot of just focusing. It brings them difficulty when they're learning in school and even outside in the home. If you're out and about running errands, you don't realize how much you need to have that focusing in order for you to just function
Right.
in regular life. So
Right. So I want to get straight into it, right? Because you have Jax, who's your son, who just turned
yes.
10. So happy birthday to Jax and
Yay.
happy birthday to Mama, right?
Yay.
10 years of
10
being a
years.
mama. And
Well,
he,
actually I have a 20-year-old.
oh, you have 20-year-old. That's
Mm-hmm.
right. That's right.
Yes.
I forgot. I forgot. No shade to Jaden. Um, so he got diagnosed with ADHD at what age?
uh officially 4 years old.
4 years old. And
Officially
something
four.
else?
ODD.
What's
With
ODD?
so Jackson has ADHD slash ODD, which is oppositional defiance disorder, which is
Is that a behavioral thing also?
also behavioral.
Okay.
Um, it's in the title. He is oppositional and he is defiant.
He's I'm gonna do me. I'm gonna do me.
yes. So that
4 years old. Wow.
yes. Yeah. Well, I kind of from my expertise knew from I'd say about a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that were off about Jax.
Mm-hmm.
Just his energy, his he
He
was
was
all
always
over
on
the
100.
place. All over the place, had like just constantly bumping into things, falling, no regard for like safety. So he would just it was a lot.
It was a lot.
It was a
That's
lot.
gonna get us into our first question.
Yes.
That's gonna get us right into our
yes.
first question. So, what challenges have you faced raising Jax with ADHD?
Well, the challenges have changed as his age basically has changed
Right.
as he's gotten older. I found that when he was much younger,
Mm-hmm.
it was extremely challenging,
Right.
so challenging because um, it was hard to keep him safe.
Yeah.
Basically,
Yeah.
he would they say not to. You ever seen those kids on like the little leash
Yeah.
with the backpack?
The little monkey leash.
Yes.
I did have one of those back in the day.
My son was actually one of those kids that needed to have that because he would wander. He would not even wander, but just run.
Yeah. So that must have been scary for
It's
you.
scary, horrible. He would climb really high things, and then if you weren't paying attention like that, he'll just jump off. One time he ran across the street, just ran, and I'm like, thank God there were no cars coming,
because he has no regard.
He just very impulsive,
Yeah,
which is another big thing with ADHD and ODD. Being, no matter how many times we would talk to him and explain, we can't do this because cars are coming, you may get hurt. If you do this, you will get lost.
Yeah.
But in his mind,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. But he has no control over that, though.
No, not at all. Not at all. We started to, he began to feel basically his own emotions, as far as when he was around 4, as a matter of fact. He was able to tell me, Mommy, there's a lot of things going on in my head. Like, I can't stop. It's like things are spinning. And, it broke my heart because I wanted to help him. I just didn't know how that felt.
Right. So that's a challenge off the back, right? Because you're getting these, your son coming to you telling you that there's things spinning in his head.
Right.
And you could control your own emotions and what goes on in your head, but to help your child, that's hard.
It's hard.
That's emotionally draining too.
It is. And it was, when school started, it was worse.
Right.
Because you're getting phone calls almost every day that your child is under the table, your child is hanging from the hooks in the closet.
Oh my
God. He couldn't sit still.
Yeah.
So in a school environment, they kind of expect them to sort of have that
structure.
And it was hard. It was very hard for him. So we used to have a notebook going back and forth. It was just,
you're still facing challenges to this day.
Oh, yes.
Although you stated that it comes with age.
It does come with age. But
would you say it gets harder, the challenges?
The challenges...
Or now that he's getting older, let me rephrase my question. Now that he's getting older, he has more control over his emotions. Rather it challenging you, it's challenging him.
His emotions are different.
Right.
The behaviors, I want to say, for Jackson change every 6 to 8 months. There's something new.
Right.
So one thing will improve, but then another thing will kind of manifest.
Right.
And so it's kind of like starting all over again and facing that challenge and overcoming that, and working with that. So it's still there. It's just all very different.
Right.
Not as dangerous as from when he...
Yeah, because he's getting older now. Right. So now he's probably understanding.
He's a little more understanding, but he still has trouble regulating his emotions.
Right.
And now that he's 10, it's a little more anger.
Yeah.
Definitely more anger. And he's very argumentative.
Yeah.
So
that's good. That's good sometimes, right? You might be the president when he says that.
He just, he will butt heads with you, and it's hard as the parent, as the adult, to not
get frustrated
and challenge back.
Right.
Because it's actually he's seeking dopamine.
Right.
And the levels rise when he is being challenged and getting angry, and he can have that argument back and forth. So it's kind of giving him what he wants, in a sense, but it's his brain telling him this is what he needs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely a struggle.
It is very interesting, and I want to stop and pause for a minute and really thank you for coming on here and sharing this, because you're a great mother, and I'm sure that it's super challenging, but also emotionally, like I said, it consumes a lot of emotions from you as a parent. I want to remind you that you should never think that you did something wrong, right? Yeah. Because you're great.
Absolutely.
And it takes a lot of patience and courage to be able to raise a child. And for anyone that's watching, that you have a child that has ADHD and you feel like you're struggling, it's okay. You're
Yeah.
not the only one. It's not easy. Like it really isn't. Um, you did mention to me you feel ADHD. It's like it's normal or non-existent. What do you mean by that?
So this was part of the struggle that I had when he was much younger.
Right.
So I would kind of bring it to the attention. It started in daycare. And he was in a city daycare, so they did have like psychologists and things
Right.
like that. There were things that were available. And I would say, listen, something's up. You know, like he shouldn't be acting like this. All of the children are at circle time, story
Yeah.
time, whatever. He's on the other side of the classroom, kind of doing whatever it is that
So
he
you were
wants.
analyzing your son.
I knew.
Yeah.
But I wasn't getting that concerns back. Basically, people were like, "Oh, he's just a boy. Oh, that's okay. He'll grow out of it." Just excuse after excuse after excuse, and I'm like, "No, something's wrong." So
Right.
I went through that for years until the end of pre-K,
Right.
where his teacher and I, yes, we did the back and forth a lot, and then I tried to explain. I need to have him evaluated.
Right.
Like these are things that I need.
You know your child best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we would speak to the pediatrician, but a pediatrician does not diagnose with a child with ADHD. The
Psychologist?
It can be a psychologist, but actually a neurologist.
Interesting.
A neurologist is your best bet.
That's interesting.
So you would speak to your pediatrician, they would give you a referral to a neurologist, and he was tested, and that was his diagnosis. There's a series of tests that they give them, not just blood tests, but kind of like there was a computer test, which is, I don't know how else to call it, where there's things flashing on the screen and he has to, click on the keyboard for certain letters that popped up. He had to try to focus on those things, and it was,
they were testing his brain
and
function.
his brain functioning there, and also an MRI.
Yeah.
There was also kind of not like a sleep study where they put probes on his head, and he had to kind of like lay still for an hour. Oh my goodness. That was difficult. And from that, they get all of these findings, and they were able to diagnose him. The thing is that a lot of parents are afraid of that part, because normally when you do these tests and they tell you your son or your child, mind you, it's not only boys, it's more common in boys, but there are little girls who also have ADHD, but it's kind of overlooked because the symptoms,
adults also.
Yes, the symptoms are a little different. But it comes with medication.
Right.
A lot of parents are anti medication.
Yeah. And we'll get there. So you feel like, back to my question, you feel like it was normal or non-existent because you weren't getting the attention that you needed to it, although you were advocating for your child to say something's not right.
Right.
Nobody was listening to you.
No.
So what can a parent look for to make them aware? Right.
Right. It's like I said, every child is different. But when they're young, if it's hard for you to get their attention and to keep their attention, that's something that can be a little concerning. Right. If it becomes difficult for your child to engage with other children and play normally, normal play is a big deal. Yeah, that's how they learn. Right. And if your child is having trouble with that, difficulties, just like if they, instead of rolling a car on the floor, they decide they want to toss those cars across the wall and just kind of
odd behavior.
Yeah,
odd behavior.
Just odd things. But it is especially the danger thing, when they're just not aware of their surroundings and stuff like that.
And it is, I guess what I would say, a little hard to to tell another parent what to look for, because to your point, every
Right.
every
Every
kid is
child is
different.
different.
So it's really hard. Something
Right.
that Jax may do, another kid may not do, but
Right.
still be considered ADHD diagnosed,
Right.
right?
Right.
I know that this is challenging and must be rough as a parent, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And you're married too, so
I am.
you guys parenting together, it must be rough. So when you guys face things where Jax is just on 100, right?
Mm-hmm.
What tips do you have for parents having a hard time?
I say, especially with your partner, you have to be on the same page.
Right. Right.
Even if you guys aren't agreeing at that moment, how to, kind of handle the situation,
Right.
or always in agreement at the moment, and then once it's all said and done, reconvene later on.
Right. Communication.
And definitely discuss,
Right.
especially when it's a new behavior.
Yeah.
And that also creates a challenge within the household, within the marriage.
Yeah.
Because we all have it. The structure needs to be there. Everything has to be on point.
And everybody has their own way of parenting.
Everyone has
so
their
although
own
you guys are
way.
in a committed relationship, you guys are married, it doesn't necessarily
Right.
mean you parent like him and he parents like you.
Right. So it's definitely communication.
Yeah.
Communication is key. Okay, we notice this behavior. I feel we can try handling it this way. How do you feel about it? Do you have any input? Let's try to take those two things, which we do a lot. My husband and I, we do that a lot, where he has one thing and I'll have another, and we will join those things.
Yes, I love
and
that.
make it work.
I love that.
I
love that. So for those of you watching, what tips do you have for parents having a hard time, right? Because like I mentioned to Shana, this could be extremely difficult. And I think it's important for everyone to understand they're not alone.
No,
you're not alone.
Absolutely not.
Right? Because like you mentioned earlier, it can go being non-existent.
Absolutely.
Right? So what tips do you guys have if you are raising a child that has a chronic condition of ADHD? And I want to go back to what we were discussing before, because you mentioned medication.
Yes.
Right? Controversial conversation.
Yes,
right?
it is controversial.
So this is Shauna's opinion. Everyone has their own right to feel certain ways about this. Again, speak to your doctor. But how do you feel about medication for ADHD?
Okay.
Right? Is Jax on it? Is it helpful?
Yes. Okay. So Jax is on medication for ADHD. Okay. He has been on medication since he was about 5 years old. Okay. I want to say. So 5 years now. And it's really good. It's really, really good right now.
So helpful for him.
Absolutely. Okay. But I want to say
and you.
I want to say this though. It's from the beginning. It's not like cut dry. Here's medicine and that's it. They're cured. That's not the case at all. When you start this journey, it's kind of like like trial and error, I want to say. Small dosage and types, because there are many different types of medications for ADHD, and every one of those medications affects this child differently. So what they did is that we started with a small dosage of a certain brand, and I monitored my son's behavior for a month and worked with the teacher if it was during school time, as to what they saw. Because remember, sometimes the behaviors at school are completely different from behaviors at home. So it's important to have that open communication with the teacher. So important. So if we noticed anything, if nothing was really changing, if he was still a little antsy, could not get through a reading passage or whatever the case may be, I would go back to the neurologist. At that point, we should be having an appointment every 30 days give him the feedback, and then, if it's still not there yet, we, up the dosage a little bit.
Right.
So it's definitely trial and error,
Mhm.
and you have to have extreme patience for that. I
Yeah.
do find that a lot of parents try it, and then after 30 days just give up.
Yeah.
It didn't work. That's it. I tried.
But it's like any
Done.
medication, right?
You
You're like, oh
know,
my God, I got a headache. Oh my God, 5
right.
minutes later, my headache doesn't go away. You gotta be patient.
Yes, you
And I
have to.
I don't mean to compare that
yeah.
because it's
No,
totally
no, no.
different.
It's
But
different, but it's like in overall,
mhm.
the outcome is what's best.
Right. What's beneficial for you and
It's
your kid.
beneficial for you and your child. I
Yeah.
want to say, for instance, Jackson had trouble reading.
Mhm.
Very, very, he's smart little boy. And he was very quick with
And
math.
cute.
And yeah,
And cute.
and it's horrible.
And it's horrible.
Science, great. His reading level
That was his weakness.
Like
every kid.
It was on the lower end.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that was part of it, where I was like, I wonder if the medication will
It's
help.
impacting his reading skills, or
No,
would make it better.
Would make it better.
Gotcha.
Because it's hard when there's things constantly spinning in your mind for you to focus on words on a page. He couldn't.
That makes me so sad.
They were kind of jumping all over the place. So he
Yeah.
can't focus on what he's reading. So once we found the regimen and we were all said and done, all of a sudden his reading level shot through the roof.
That's so beautiful.
His grades
Yeah.
are 90s to 100. It's just it's worked wonders.
So you feel it's been helpful?
It's been helpful. We use it especially during the school day.
Does he have any specific symptoms, that like drowsiness or headaches or stomachache, or he's just...
No, actually now, like, he's pretty good. In the beginning, when you start to do the process of elimination, what works and what doesn't, there would be slight symptoms. Most of it is actually hunger. So ADHD medication kind of suppresses their hunger.
Right.
So he wouldn't eat during the day.
Yeah.
Which was actually, it was okay, because
Mhm.
what he would do is have a really big breakfast.
Right.
And then throughout the school day, he would just maybe have a snack or something. And by the time he got home from school, he was hungry.
Yeah.
He wanted, a meal. And then for dinner, he'd want another meal. So it worked out.
Does he understand why, and this wasn't a part of my question, but hearing you speak, it brings this thought to my mind. Does he understand why he's taking medication?
Yes.
Okay.
That was very important for me to explain to him exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
The whole process.
Yes.
What he was diagnosed with, why he was diagnosed with that, and why he was taking the medication, and
so honesty is
the
key,
differences.
right?
Yeah,
Guys,
absolutely.
be honest with your children,
Absolutely.
right? So that they understand the reason behind why they're taking medication, right? It's not just a vitamin. This is going to help you.
It is going to help him. And then we don't always give it to him on the weekends. So if we're going to be home and hanging out, we don't give him the medication. It's like his day off. He's him. But also when he's on the medication, he still is very much Jackson.
Yeah.
His personality is still there. He's still, a trip, and
he's so funny.
He's hilarious. All of that. That's also very important.
And you want to make sure, he's extremely loving.
So loving.
He's such a loving kid.
Yes. And affectionate.
It could just be me. He has a little crush on me, so I would say I'm his favorite.
But that's
so
definitely. So
what advice do you have for parents to prepare their kids for the struggle they may face, right? Because I'm sure you're going to face, like you said, you've been vocal with Jackson, so you're honest with him. So what advice for parents to say, this is going to be a rough journey for you and us?
Right. Communication, literally, that there is...
The communication is key to everything. Let me tell you.
Everything, because that shows them that you also trust them with their feelings as well. They can explain to you exactly how they feel, what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you don't know.
Right.
You don't know.
Right.
I don't know. And there's times where Jackson has been in an episode and it would last, oh my goodness, an hour. And after that, we go through some calming, and then
And when
he
you
would,
say episode, you're like
I mean,
screaming,
like
kicking, frustration,
screaming,
crying.
crying, like up and down. It's it's an hour long roller coaster.
Wow.
Because he has trouble regulating his emotions.
Yeah.
So it can go from happy to sad to angry to just all over the place. And once we get out of that, he will say, I don't know why I felt that way.
Aww.
Or what happened, but this is, or basically he doesn't know what triggered it.
Mm-hmm.
Why did he won't remember, but
it's up to you as his parent to explain that to him.
Explain,
to communicate.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because they really don't know. It's kind of like like a blank, like he goes
block it out.
Yeah, he goes completely blank. He like or a bull that sees red, they just kind of charge, and then that's it. They don't know. So yeah,
communication, guys.
Always,
with any aspect in your life,
even if you think they're too young, they're not. They really aren't, because they know what they're going through, and they can explain to you exactly how they're feeling, what was going on in their brain at the time.
So along with communication, support.
Absolutely.
Right, I would say so. I mean, I'm not in your shoes, but I would, but just hearing you and feeling you as a parent, that support that they need, Jackson specifically would need from you when he gets over that.
It's so important that when he's having the dysregulation of his emotions, for me as the parent, for his father as the parent, to be calm and to be his safe space.
And that must be challenging for
you.
It
is
too,
challenging.
and testing your patience for sure.
It does. But like I had mentioned before, it brings up the dopamine levels when, if we're all just going nuts, screaming at each other.
That's chaotic.
It is chaotic. So the less chaos, the better. So if you keep calm and you're just like, okay, nice tone, let's breathe through it, counting. Usually I'll rub him aggressively, like rub him, or apply a little pressure with hugs and things like that. That brings his energy down a little bit, and he's able to calm and breathe through it. So
he feels that sense of peace. Now, you also teach children with disabilities, right?
Yes.
So that's crazy.
It is.
The patience that you got, girl. Halo around your head. What has that taught you, right? Because I'm sure you're going from teaching children with disabilities to then going home to deal with Jackson with ADHD. So what has that taught you? Like balance? Like what kind of balance has that taught you?
So much. Being within the field, I've learned how to handle situations, how to create like these zen moments, for him, and what we call cozy corners in the classroom. We have something like that, like for him to calm himself. Those skills that I've learned, I bring home and use with him. Do they always work? No, because there's a big difference between mommy and Mrs. Flores as a teacher.
Right.
So sometimes he'll throw it back at me. He's like, you can't use those things that you use on your kids with me. It doesn't work.
Smart kid. Smart kid.
So, but yeah, it takes a lot of patience.
Girl.
So much patience. And sometimes, let me tell you, I have my moments. I feel like
Nobody's perfect.
Wit's end, and I am about to like fall off that cliff.
I'm done.
And I have to step away, which is also important. Don't let myself become overwhelmed and just explode. I will, and it took me a while also to learn to just, okay, I'm getting a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Tag my
Yeah.
husband in, or even at school, tag my coworker in. All right, I need to go take a deep breath and gather my
That's
thoughts.
what anything. That's what
and come
any
back.
type of parenting does.
Everything,
You really
but that
always have
works
to just take
with
a minute.
every single situation, whether it's dealing with children or dealing with your partner or
True.
just dealing with coworkers,
Right.
dealing with people
In general.
Yes, in Target and the line, whatever. You just take a step back, breathe.
Right.
Traffic. Breathe. Let me tell you,
She's
these
like,
skills,
we'll
work all across the board. So, yeah.
How do you really just, so I guess this will tie me to my next question, because I wanted to talk about a sense of frustration that you probably do feel when you're in your parenting phase, because like any parent, you're not perfect, right?
No, of course not.
And
No.
frustration comes with parenting.
Absolutely.
So you would say, to balance out your frustration, you really just take that Zen moment that you learn from your kids in school, that you apply with Jackson,
right,
and you take that with yourself.
I do.
Into your own lifestyle.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I there are we have like aromatherapy in my bedroom. With the scents and all of that. We have the lighting in my house. We're able to dim things, all of the lights, because lighting actually has a big effect on your brain functioning and all of that. So when you want to be soothed, I bring down the lighting, music.
Take
also,
a little moment, guys. We all deserve it.
All of that.
Say a little
all
prayer,
of that.
Thank God for patience, because we all need it.
Do pour myself a glass of wine if I really, really need it.
Listen,
ain't
nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Maybe a little bit stronger than wine.
It could be, yes, but it's it's a lot. It's a lot. I do have things in the house that are very manipulative for him, like squishies. Loves those squeezable balls. Those poppets used to play with a lot.
I love those myself.
Fidgets, like all of these things to keep him kind of like busy, and it's awesome. But now that he's older, he's into basketball a lot.
Keeps him busy and occupied, and it gives him a sense of courage.
He is now outside shooting hoops for a half an hour, comes in, sits down, watches something on the television, 15 minutes, gets up, goes back outside, shoots more hoops. It's actually, I'm loving this because he's not stuck in front of a screen. Like he used to be, which was such a hard habit to break.
So would you recommend the parents to put their kids in some sort of sports to give them that sense of
yes, definitely, because it does. They have to take that pent up energy and put it somewhere. They do have to learn structure.
Absolutely. Structure
is so, like, they literally seek structure and kind of like rules and scheduling. So important. They will, if something changes, it kind of throws them off a little bit. So if he knows he has basketball for the team, for instance, a game every Saturday, if there's no game, then he's like, oh my God, like,
what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? It's just, it completely like throws them off. So
keep them engaged, guys. Keep your kids engaged. Keep them active. Keep them doing something that's going to keep their mind from going in circles, right? Alone.
Absolutely.
At least they're taking that into something productive, like sports.
Definitely. Whatever their special interests are, take it and run with it.
Right.
Always encourage.
So my last question, and this is really tying back to everything that I've asked you before and most of our conversation, but what advice do you have for parents who feel as though they are failing, right? And when I say failing, I don't mean necessarily as a parent, but failing as a parent raising a child that has ADHD and they're too frustrated.
You're not.
Yeah.
Just be open minded to not like seeking help, I want to say, but talking, communicating,
Yeah.
communicate with your family, communicate with your friends. Um,
But
there,
seeking help is also okay,
that's
right?
nothing wrong with that
Seeking help is good.
at
Yeah.
all. But
Yeah.
that's part of the communication.
Right.
Talking about your experiences,
Yes.
um, you can then find that someone else may have those
Yes.
same experiences and may be able to give you some kind of um pointers. Oh, well, I do this with my
Right.
kid, you want to try that? Like there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's communities out there. I find on Facebook also um communities with children with ADHD, and a lot of parents bring up a question. They'll pose a question. I'm having this struggle with my child, this new behavior, and then the comments are usually from like parents that are like, "Oh, I've had this experience. We tried this. We
Hmm.
tried that." Be
I love that.
open.
I love that.
Be open and honest. You're not alone
No, you're not.
at all. So it's, once you find that community, it builds up your confidence in who you are as a parent, and
Right.
how you're doing everything that you can for your child, and knowing that you can like do more, and just help them become the the person that they will be, that.
Yeah, every kid is special
Yeah.
in their own way.
Oh
I
my
love that.
goodness.
I love that advice. That's
Yes.
beautiful advice. Because that is the purpose of Moms That Conquer, to have that open platform.
Absolutely.
Because you never know who's going through the same things you're going through, or dealing with the same
Hmm.
struggles and emotions you're going through. So that's why it's so good to have platforms like this, so that you can be expressive and talk about things that somebody
Absolutely.
else may um, not want to confide in other people, but they're confiding in
Right.
you,
Which is
right?
why I wanted to come on
I
here
love you for it.
and
I love
have
you
this
for it.
conversation with you. I think it's a great
Yes,
conversation to have.
yes, and I appreciate you coming on here, right? Because I was doing my own study. Because again, I do not have children that have been diagnosed with ADHD, but obviously there are others here
Hmm.
that have. So I thought it was an
Absolutely.
important topic to discuss. And I did my own research, and according to a 2022 national survey of parents,
Hmm.
11.4% of U.S. children ages 3 to 17
Hmm.
have been diagnosed with ADHD,
ADHD. Yes.
which is 1 in 9 children.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And we don't know this until we do our own research, or we
Hmm.
speak to parents like Shauna that have children that suffer with some type of
Right.
difficulties, right? But just so that you guys know, aside from what Shauna's advice, the advice Shauna has offered us, the CDC also offers fact sheets and other resources about the signs and symptoms to look for. Plus, they give you resources for treatment.
Yes.
So if you can't, if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to others, make sure that you do your research online. Go to the CDC website. You can find so many things, so many resources. I saw so many facts that
Yes.
I couldn't even believe.
Yes.
And back to what Shauna said, communicate with those that are around you. Be
Hmm.
vulnerable, be expressive. You never know what kind of advice you can get from people,
From
from moms,
people.
from dads, from anyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you again.
Thank you for having
Of
me.
course. I love you. You're an
Really-
amazing mother, and I'm
Thank you
so
so
proud of
much. I
you.
love you too.
Your patience, girl, A1.
Yes.
All of you that are following us that are in the same situation as Shauna, you're doing an amazing job.
Absolutely.
Make sure you like, comment, share your feedback, right?
Yes.
Any tips that you have that we didn't cover,
Mhm.
and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
All of that.
All of that. Well, this is a great conversation, guys. Thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.